So here's the box that arrived today. But before we cover this, let's cover the non-anime stuff first. To begin with, I wasn't planning to buy it, but I was at Target, it was there, and I'm like, yeah, why not? The basic set seems fine for me. So as you can see, I got a Wii U, and along those lines, I got New Super Mario Bros. U and Nintendo Land. Moving away from the video gaming stuff, I got a bunch of non-anime DVDs. I've got Matilda, Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I'm wanting to watch this. And this was there too, so I got it. These, of course, I got because I have Spider-Man 3, and yeah, my friend was interested in seeing Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I've always been curious about it, heard good things about it, so I got that as well. Alright, now, let's get to the real meat of today, which is all the new stuff in here. Okay, we know to get that far. I see. Now we can take this out. Now we can start slipping some of these out. We've got 3 things there where they knew they were shipping everything to me, so they shipped everything to me. And here, there's one non-anime thing, and that's Season 1 of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I've seen a couple episodes of it. Been curious about seeing more. Too lazy to go onto YouTube to see more. So I saw this, pre-ordered it. It's here. And I'll probably check it out at some point. I don't know when. It's hard to say. It's all falling apart in my hands. But since it's here, in case it's in the intersection, we've got 4 discs. Should be interesting to see how this goes, but I'm going to put this with that big pile of non-anime stuff so that we can look at the anime stuff. And let's begin with these 2, which is Ninja Scroll Blu-ray, and while I originally already have Ninja Scroll on DVD, I bought the new DVD release in the off chance something was interesting. I just kind of thought my release is a bit old. It's just a single cheap purchase. I think it was cheap. So I decided to get it, see if there's anything noteworthy about having this DVD over that one. But I won't know tonight, because I am a bit pressed for time at the moment. There we go. Sometimes just getting that first little bit started is the hard part. Just kind of curious. I assume the insides aren't terribly spectacular, as this isn't being advertised as a spectacular release. Just the first Blu-ray release of Ninja Scroll. There we go. Next up, we should have there we go. We've got another Bleach movie, Hellverse. And one of these days I need to catch up on Bleach. I think I've started missing releases. Maybe just one release. Maybe I'm only one release behind, or maybe 2 releases. Oop. Sometimes this plastic is just fragile. Basically the same discs. Art on both. I don't know what to think about that movie. And we've got Mashiroiro Symphony. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. I don't even know what this is about. Although I do know that it is probably of the more perverted persuasion. And of course, this only has English with Japanese subtitles. going along with the Hentai predictability of their Blu-ray releases having English audio and their DVD releases being Japanese with English subtitles, which works for me. I do like the release of anime here in the US. Last and what's probably not least, my copy of Black Lagoon DVD and Blu-ray combo pack arrived. This would have both seasons, and they would have them both on DVD and on Blu-ray. Let's see if I can get this open. For some reason, this plastic is being extra hard today. It's a bit... maybe it's not a bit different. Nothing terribly complicated about the discs, although we do see the black discs are DVDs and the red ones are Blu-rays. 3 Blu-rays for, what, 26 episodes? Which is pretty stereotypical. Must be what was making that little thing before. Alright, let's see if I can get this back on. I can't do it from that direction, which means I have to do it from this direction, which means quit catching on this stupid plastic. There we go. And, well, it would be nice to have more stuff. Unfortunately, the only other thing I have is a Hentai release, which is another adult source media scene compilation release, 50 Darker Shades of Hentai. One of these days, I'm going to go through and I'm going to categorize all of these. I'm going to make a list of everything what every scene is from, so that people can know. But can't do that now. So this is this week's not too exciting release. I guess it could have been more exciting if Umineko arrived. Umineko? I don't know which it is, but this is what I've got. So I guess this has been a kind of complicated week in terms of watching stuff, insofar as I don't think I've watched as much as I might have wanted to, or maybe it was just fine. Kind of hard to tell, but with all the complications that arrived, I'll talk about my anime real fast. But before I do that, if anybody is tuning in just to listen to my Wii U stuff, I will talk about that after all the anime. So let's get the anime. Before I talk about the stuff I've watched, there is I think I did mention that Umineko, whatever it is, the 2-part release is the next NIS release. I have pre-ordered that, though Right Stuff says they're in stock, so I expect them to ship at any time. I don't know why they haven't shipped yet, as it is. Once they do ship, though, I assume because they're already ready, it means that they'll arrive by next week, by next week's update. So, they haven't shipped yet. I don't know why. So, that aside, stuff I've watched. So, like I said, it was a complex week. I've covered what I watched Tuesday. So, Wednesday, I had a friend come over who hasn't been as consistent about coming over, and he resumed watching Shiki, which I don't complain about, because Shiki, I feel, is a very compelling, interesting show to watch. And so that one was just really enjoyable to just get back into again. It's a nice thing to just kind of sit down and watch beginning to end, but you make do with what you can make with, I guess. So there's that. Another friend is once again watching Cowboy Bebop. Well, this isn't another friend who is watching it again. This is another friend who's watching Cowboy Bebop for the first time, which is always an important, especially since he's covered both Trigun and Outlaw Star. And as far as I'm concerned, Trigun, Outlaw Star, and Cowboy Bebop kind of make the triple core of learning how to explore anime from the point of view of how I understand anime. In other words, how I introduced. I mean, Evangelion got me into it, and then it was Outlaw Star, Trigun, Cowboy Bebop that kind of started my exploration into branching out to other things, I think. And along those lines, Cowboy Bebop's just an important title. It's not my personal, it's probably my least favorite of those three. But at the same time, I know watching it, there's no denying that it's a good show. That there's a bunch of good stories. I just don't care about certain stories and the overall story and some of the overall development. But within, outside of that being a very obviously personal preference as opposed to something that just triggers a pet peeve and then I don't know why I hate something. It's really obvious what about Cowboy Bebop just prevents it from being the best thing in the world for me, and outside of that, it is definitely good. One interesting thing watching it this time is I kind of realized that two of the episodes that might be my favorite, Toys in the Attic and Pierrot Le Fou, don't know if I pronounced the last one right, of those two episodes, they're actually kind of executed more like a horror episode show, something like that. And maybe that explains my fascination with those episodes over the others and could kind of be a hint as to why the series overall doesn't trigger me, or far more likely, as much as I enjoy the individual stories of Cowboy Bebop, I really like the well-told overarching story and the build-ups that come with those that both Outlaw Star and Trigun had. But Cowboy Bebop did. And of course, I made that observation, but the truth of the matter is Mushroom Samba wasn't about that, and that one is enjoyable for different reasons. But we didn't get that far. We only finished the third disc, so we watched the Chessmaster Hex episode, I think it's called Bohemian Rhapsody, which is definitely confusing considering the famous song by that name. So we're about halfway through, maybe just a bit past that. Can't think of much else to say at the moment. Tonight, there wasn't a whole lot of anime watching that actually happened, but we did watch 2 episodes of Welcome to the NHK. Part of that is because my brother's watching Chobits, and while there isn't a whole lot of overlap between them, I think there's also something the little that that in my mind that overlaps between Chobits and Welcome to the NHK seems very poignant. It seemed important because my brother was watching Chobits in a social setting, and it seemed like good ammo for him to have in case a conversation came up. It's like, so he'd be able to compare to Welcome to the NHK or whatnot. I'm not sure if that's exactly accurate, but it came to mind. He was up for exploring it. And I guess we didn't really see if that was what we ultimately... I guess we didn't really reflect on that for the evening. And most of that is the Wii U stuff, which I will talk about in a little bit. Finally, the major thing I did this week, the thing that was just watching for my own sake watching, was I finished Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Mostly because that was a great big target. Actually, before I did that, I did watch one episode of Serial Experiments Lain. Just one episode, but I did watch it, and the reason for that was, I wanted to watch an episode of the Blu-ray to make sure, just to see what it was like, because I knew from the advertisements that some of those scenes were really, really, really cleaned up. I mean, it looked like something that had potentially been made with HD in mind. Potentially, maybe not exactly, but just cleaned up really well. And I wanted to watch an entire episode to kind of see if it was true for an entire episode. It wasn't quite there, but usually there are some parts where you can tell it's upscaled and other parts where it just kind of shines and is really awesome. It really gets you in and paying attention, and then there's just the Lane aspect that just grabs your attention. So yeah, I guess other than that one episode of Lane, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl really is the only thing I watched for myself this week. Which isn't too bad. In this case, it was taking care of the really important thing of finally finishing that and moving an entire huge chunk of Pokemon behind me. And that's putting all the Diamond and Pearl stuff So I got to see the end of that, and it didn't really show Ash preparing to go to the next area, which I don't know how to pronounce. It sounded like it was really weird, like not Unova, but Unava, Unova. I have no clue. Something about the way it was pronounced stood out to me as not quite the way I was pronouncing it. But all that aside, I got to see the separation from Dawn and Brock's separation, because I know Brock doesn't follow Ash in Pokemon Black and White. He's got completely new people, and it's got a completely new kind of focus, I think, which may be pretty in line with an idea I heard where you got your first Pokemon series, and then both Pokemon Advanced and Pokemon Diamond and Pearl kind of followed this similar concept where Ash is just traveling around, gathering gym badges, and traveling with a coordinator. And now I don't think he's traveling with a coordinator in Black and White, but I didn't watch the first episode of that, not yet. I was considering trying to do that, but I never got around to it. Instead, of the stuff I did watch, I actually thought it was pretty entertaining. Little things here and there that annoy me, like one inconsistency I just remember from the Pokemon contest is in one episode Dawn is told that the reason she scored far lower than she thought she did, I don't remember if she just didn't make it in or if maybe she barely made it in, but she kind of was told that she had done something very wrong in terms of trying to show off her Pokemon, insofar as she forgot that she was supposed to be showing off her Pokemon, and so you didn't get to see as much of her Pokemon, and she was showing off herself more. Unless that was May, but I'm pretty sure that was Dawn. And the reason I mention and complain about this is because Jessie does that sort of stuff all the time, and it's kind of annoying. Contests are okay. I just prefer pretty much the important battles, which kind of have problems in their own, but the good thing about this part of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl is it was the Sinnoh League, and the League battles in Pokemon have always impressed me, I think. I can't remember them for certain series, but I do remember Ash's first time going there and him being a rather impressive trainer, and this time I thought he had some rather impressive moments of his own as well, which I thought kind of ended everything nicely. Now, that said, I said that ended everything nicely. I meant that it ended all the loose ends. The way it actually ended itself, the series was okay. Not bad, but something about it kind of felt a bit more missing. Like, almost like Master Quest probably did the separation of the Pokemon first series stuff better. Maybe. This is a gut reaction, and I haven't quite quantified it, so you can take that with a grain of salt. And since I'm always thorough, I do also download and watch the unaired episodes. In the case of both Pokemon Advanced and Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, it's just recap episodes. There was one in Advanced and two in Diamond and Pearl. Nothing too spectacular, noteworthy there. Just kind of interesting there. And so there you go. I've finished Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and now I can start watching Pokemon Black and White, which means I'm almost caught up again. Which means I'll probably prioritize watching Pokemon, since there's the Berserk movie to watch, and the friend I want to watch Lane with will probably finally get to watch it, and Mashiroiro Symphony sounds familiar. I can't put my finger on it. So plenty of stuff to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing where this week goes. But outside of that, I guess I can talk about the Wii U stuff I've done so far. And I guess the very first interesting thing is, for some reason, it's felt a little more fun sharing some internet-related stuff with the Wii U versus the computer hooked up to the TV. Part of that may just be how novel it is to me, just a new thing. In which case, we could take that with a grain of salt. It is interesting how you can look for something and then do a massive reveal of somebody to it without them seeing what it is you're looking up. That's actually a pretty entertaining feature. I prefer the internet browser for viewing YouTube videos versus YouTube app itself, I guess. A lot of that's preference. Now, I haven't tried Nintendo Land yet, but we did play New Super Mario Bros. U. And this was just me and one of my brothers. If anybody's curious, this was actually the Yellow Toad. And I played Mario. If any of you saw all of my old videos. Now, this time he wasn't playing as Yellow Toad. He was playing with the Wii U controller here, which allowed him to do things, stun enemies, create platforms, very simple things. So, in a way, it's almost like the player 2 from Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2, except that it's far more interactive and there's a lot more exchange back and forth of what people are going to try and do. In other words, we had a blast. And I was just playing as Mario, doing my navigating. I would love to upload videos for y'all, but unfortunately I am connecting my Wii U to the TV using HDMI, and I do not have an HDMI video capture capability. In fact, my current video capture device is actually a bit on the fritz. Don't know what's wrong with it. I've been wanting to replace it with a card built into this, or installed in the system, and I had an idea of which one it was, just didn't save that link, and blah 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 blah. So, long story short, we enjoyed it, and since I only have these two games, I obviously haven't played too much. In fact, I only got it Sunday and didn't get it set up until last night. So, it hasn't been installed, and this was our first time firing it up tonight. And it was a fun experience, and I'm actually looking forward to getting a couple other titles. Probably the highest priorities at the moment are Zombie U, which actually looks like a pretty decent survival horror, an actual survival horror, as opposed to a lot of what survival horror has turned into, which is not really trying to manage inventories or something. Kind of, yeah. But, so Zombie U has interested me in that way. It's the very first video on Amazon is okay, kind of a curiosity, but it's when you go and you look at how the game is played that you realize that it's kind of got some interesting, it looks interesting, in my opinion. The other game I'm looking at getting is Batman Arkham City for the Wii U. Now, there's a part of me that didn't want to. Like, I was kind of I had watched my brother play through Arkham Asylum, and I thought that was really good and neat and fun, and maybe if I had Arkham Asylum first, I was going to do it, but I wasn't sure. But reading some of the reviews, it sounds like Batman Arkham City on the Wii U is actually a pretty interesting thing to play. People are saying that the gameplay mechanics are very different with the Wii U, which makes it sound like they actually are using them more appropriately or something. Maybe not as appropriate as Zombie U. I don't know. I'll have to look. But it definitely got my attention, and people have considered it a good game, so I'm probably going to get that at some point. I don't know when. Christmas presents come first, right? So, there we go. That's everything. Very complex, isn't it? Lots of things happening, and that's because Christmas season is coming up, and there's things I've ordered that are not going to show up here because they're Christmas presents, but the week of Christmas itself looks absolutely nuts in terms of what's coming out, and a lot of that is because Christmas Day is a Tuesday, and Amazon employees probably get that off, maybe. Or if they don't, then other companies do, and so the release dates for all the anime coming out the week of Christmas are all over the place. And that's quite funny. Looking forward to some of the releases coming out this week, though, or this month, though. I think we've got nice titles lined up both on the 11th and the 18th, and then the 25th is where things are crazy. But it looks like a certain magical index is in there, and Shakugan no Shana Season 2 is in there. And I guess those were the first two things that came to mind, but I'm pretty sure there were others. So, I'm looking forward to the rest of this month, and y'all have a nice week.